Today we are learning a little bit from Hank Aaron. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.
Well, good afternoon. I know we're all excited, and welcome, Madison Council members and guests. And again, this year has been a wonderful, wonderful year with your support, and it's had such a great impact on the library. And the exhibit that we hope you will enjoy was made possible by your support, the innovative and engaging baseball Americana. We were so delighted when it was voted by USA Today as the #1 exhibit to see this summer, the only one in Washington, D.C. out of 15. So we were just, and you'll see that shortly. And then the 18th National Book Festival, record-breaking attendance, over 200,000 people in one day in the, I still commute from Baltimore, so excuse me, do that. The Washington Convention Center, and it was held on Labor Day weekend, and the crowd was just wonderful, and that also was made possible with your generosity. And that's just two examples of what the Madison Council does for us. And today, actually, is being made possible by two of our Madison Council members, Tom and Joyce Moorhead, who are friends with someone I think you're going to be excited to hear from. And we are in for a special treat because today we have Mr. Henry Aaron and his wife, Billy. And I have to tell you, if you want to know about devotion, her birthday is right now. And because of their friendship with the Moorheads, the baseball Americana, respect for it, she said she would be here. Well, unbeknownst to her though, her dear friends, and they call themselves like a kitchen cabinet, who've been together for years, and her sisters and everything, they usually celebrate her birthday together. And they fooled her and said they were going to Las Vegas. Well, they're all here. And they fooled her, and they're here with us today. So we thank you, Mrs. Aaron, for sharing that with us. And so now, yes. And so now, and I must say, I'm pretty nervous because when I was 10, I wanted to be a shortstop. And it's been in the paper, I've said it with this exhibit, I spent summers in Springfield, Illinois, going down to St. Louis with my grandfather. And I thought that, well, you see, I'm here as the Librarian of Congress. That didn't work out. But I can't tell you how delighted I am to be able to welcome to the stage Mr. Henry Aaron, someone who has shown in his life and in his deeds what being a champion really is. And so today we are honored that he will talk a little bit with us about his experiences. Mr. Henry Aaron. And I also should mention that I was such a baseball fan that when my parents got divorced, I had a few players I thought if it wasn't going to work out with my dad, that she could marry. Maury Wills, I had a few lined up for her. So thank you, Mr. Aaron.
Before this interview gets started, let me know in the comments who is your top 10 favorite baseball players of all time. I'm curious to see if Hank Aaron, where do he fall in that top 10 lineup, if he's even in the lineup.
Oh, we can invite you up. We thought you could sit down.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
We're going to pretend like this is just the two of us.
Let me just
talking
said
together.
before, I just like to thank some people here, if I may, for a moment. I'd like to thank the Moorheads, Joyce and Tom, for entertaining the kitchen cabinet, and especially all of the people that is involved with my making my wife's birthday what it is. You don't know what that pressure that takes off me. But no, I want to thank you guys. You guys are really somebody special. Tom, you enjoy. Thank you very much. And Dr. Hines, I'd just like to thank you. I thank all of the people here that have given me the opportunity to stand here and talk to you for a moment about something that I am very fond of. You know, I think about, I don't get a chance to get to Washington that often, but I think about it now, and I tell a lot of people that I've come in contact with that you don't have to go overseas in order to come and find your roots. So really, you can come right here in Washington, right here to this beautiful building here, and understand that what it has to offer. And I just want to thank you for all that you do. You have been instrumental in doing some great things, and I am so thankful for you. And of course, things that I've been involved with for many years, aside from the 23 years that I played the game of baseball. But just after the 23 years that I was not involved in baseball, that my life had to go on living, you know. And of course, you know, my mother and my father has passed on since. But you and I was talking just a moment ago.
I'd like you to mention that more about your mother and father,
Yes.
because they were quite instrumental in you
Yes,
being able to endure life
right.
after baseball
That's right.
and
That's right.
succeed.
That's right. Well, my father, he built his house. It wasn't that much of a house, but it was ours. And he built it with himself. That just with this, the three of us really. Was me and my brother, my older brother, and him. We did it on Saturdays between jobs. He was working with the Alabama Dry Dock and Shipbuilding Company
In Mobile?
in Mobile, Alabama, and wasn't making much money, but we built our home with ourselves. Wasn't much of a roof, I must say, that we did the best we could. On some rainy days, we didn't completely fill in all of the potholes. We slept under some drops, but we did the best we could. We did the best we could, and it was ours. That's the most important thing, yeah.
And I understand that even when you achieved so much success and everything, that your father, and you tried to get him to leave that house.
Oh, no, and he would not, oh God, he would not leave that for nothing. He was determined that it was his and he was going to stay there. In fact, after I had been in baseball for about 15, 16 years, I went back to Mobile and I tried to buy my mother and father. And I bought a house for them. My mother loved fishing, and she had a special way of fishing. Now, I don't know, many of you probably fish, but she had a special way to fish. And what she did was go on a dock, and she'd take a newspaper and ball it up, and she would flap the water like this, and look, God,
The fish
she would
would
catch
jump off?
fish. Oh, she'd catch all kind of fish. I tried to do the same thing, and they ignored me. They wouldn't think about me. But she had some special way of doing that. But uh, but I tried to get him to move to this little house I had bought for them. And he told me one day, one early one morning, he was out there trying to crank his car up with his crank, and he called me and said, "Come here, son, I want to talk to you." He said, "Listen," he said, "I know what you're trying to do." He said, "You're trying to get your mother and I to move that house that you just bought." He said, "But we're not going anywhere." I said, "Is that right?" He said, "No." He said, "I tell you what," he said, "all of these people here, it's not that many, it's maybe 5 or 6 families here in this little area." He said, "These are friends of mine." He said, "I can wake up in the morning, I can walk down, I can say, 'Hello, Stella,' whatever, you know." And he said, "These are friends of mine." He said, "I'm not going anywhere," he said, "so you can take that money that you paid in that house and get a refund." but but he was just determined not to go anywhere.
Even after you became a successful businessman, and I wanted to bring that up too,
Yeah.
later, and everything, he wouldn't budge.
He wouldn't budge. He wouldn't even think about owning a new car, to be honest with you. You know, he loved,
Wait a
for
minute.
some reason, yes,
But you were the first
he loved,
African American BMW. You have a pretty extensive background in automobile.
yes,
No.
he wanted nothing to do with it. He loved cranking his car up. He loved cranking his car up, and he loved people that he walked down the street with his overalls suspended on one shoulder and one hanging down here. But that was him. That was him. That was my father.
I'm pretty sure we all know someone like that. Let me know in the comments who is the person in your life that's like that.
And God rest his soul. He was a wonderful man.
He did go around, I understand, and I read all the books about you, including your autobiography.
Yes.
I Had a Hammer. And you said that even though might have overalls, there were times when he was popping his buttons and everything. He was telling everybody who his son was.
Yes.
Yeah, he was that. And what happened to the house?
The house now is moved to a little place called, well, it's still in Mobile, but it moved to the baseball park. They moved it, and that's the lonesome. I mean, I was in tears when that house was moved. It moved all the way from Tobinville, which is where I was born in Tobinville, to a little place called Down the Bay. And that's where the house is now set. 2 bedrooms, a little place where, and you can go in there and see my mother's, believe it or not, her wedding dress, many 50, 60, 70 years ago, is still hanging in that little room.
It's a museum.
Yes, it's a little museum, but that's where the house is now.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your mom, as you mentioned, with the fishing, but they also both really gave you some values and some things that helped you through some pretty difficult times, even during those 23 years. There were some pretty rough times.
Oh, no question about it. I had rough, oh, you mean growing up in Mobile?
Well, that was the start. That was not.
Well, and yet my mother always taught me, and she told me 2 things. One thing that you have to always remember and be proud of. He said, "Your name is Henry Aaron," and say, always protect that. I had, and I think about it now, and I think many years ago, I said, thinking about Henry Aaron, even when I got into the business of automobile or whatever it was, food business, I always felt like, regardless of what someone tried to tell me, the most important thing was the fact that they may want to come and they can show you a big picture of something. But the most important thing is that you always got to remember that your name is Henry Aaron. It's going to always be that. And I've always tried to protect that. And I've tried my darndest to make my mother and father proud of it.
You never leave that feeling.
Yeah.
And you got a chance, and they both got a chance to be very proud.
All right.
Now, I mentioned those hard times, though, because Mobile, Alabama, that was deep South.
Deep
People
South,
talk about
absolutely.
Mississippi and everything, but whoa.
Right. We had rough time. No question about it. When I was growing up in Alabama, I remember 2 or 3 incidents. I remember very well that when it got dark, it was dark because we had no electric lights. And I remember many times my people with the kitchen cabinet heard me talk about this. But I remember many times that my mother used to call me and tell me to come and get under the bed. And I said, for what reason? Because I'm not doing anything but playing baseball, catching. But down the street was a group of white guys who was the Ku Klux Klan. And they would be coming through your neighborhood, intimidating you, lighting fires, throwing little bundle of lights in your yard, and things like this. And my mother would say, that's the reason I wanted you to stay under the house. I mean, under the bed.
And so coming out of and experiencing that, and then what you had to endure entering into professional
Yeah.
baseball, because you
Oh,
mentioned you all were playing and everything, but it
Mhm.
was what, a lot playing, or you were just playing?
Yes. Yes.
Tell me about some experiences you had growing up.
Just playing.
But then when you got into professional ball, you experienced some of the same things
Oh,
in a
yeah.
different
No
way.
question. I did. I had the same problem in some cases in cities like Cincinnati.
Cincinnati.
Oh, yeah. Since I had lots of trouble in Cincinnati at one time. I had trouble in Cincinnati. Um, I remember a very dear friend of mine that had been in the service. And this is the first time I told this story. This is the first time he had been in the service. And we used to play back when I first came to baseball. We used to play 150 some games, I think it was. And he used to always take a day off and come visit us in Cincinnati. Well, that was a long time ago when Cincinnati, when you get off out of the airport, from the airport, you had quite a ways to go before you get to the hotel. And I remember so very well that the police stopped us, and he had married some lady, and stopped us and told us that we needed to get off the highway. And he told me, he said, and by the way, he said, you need to get out of the car. And speaking to me. And I got out of the car, and I remember he said, now when I come back down here, he said, I don't want to see you on this highway anymore. And so when he came back down there, I immediately went down in the trenches, the bottom. Mud was up to here. Now I'm playing professional baseball. Mud was up to my belt buckle. And I remember that I got to the hotel about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning with mud all on me and everything. But they came back with 4 or 5 carloads of policemen. And they didn't find me, of course. They had to come down to find me. But I was able to get to the hotel, and I never did get back to go in that direction anymore.
And that was in Ohio.
That was that, yes.
Cincinnati, Ohio. So those
Yes.
types of things happen
Oh, yes. Yes.
during your career, professional, you're going for all these
Oh, yeah.
records and things like that, but there was still that aspect
Oh, yeah. No question.
that was part of it.
Yes.
So then you started thinking too about using your fame and position, to really help do things. You got a little active with civil rights,
Yes.
and in Atlanta gave a real opportunity.
Well, there's so many things that that I think about as a young man growing up. And I started playing baseball when I was 18. I got to the big leagues when I was 18 years old. I played with Milwaukee from 18 till the year that they transferred us to Milwaukee. I mean to Atlanta. And playing in Atlanta, Georgia. Now Atlanta itself was Atlanta, but outside of Atlanta, you were in Georgia.
A little
And
different,
you better
huh?
recognize that you were in Georgia. So I tried to make myself understood that although, I'm in Atlanta playing baseball, but don't get carried away and think that you're someplace else, because you are in Georgia. And I tried to make myself believe that, and understood that.
That you were able to start businesses there in Atlanta, and Ted Turner had a
I did,
part of
I did, I
that.
did very well with Ted. Ted and I were very good friends. And I was very lucky. When I said lucky, I mean I wouldn't say lucky. I think I just took for granted that, baseball was not going to be for me forever, was going to be with me forever, that I had to do something else in order to make a living. And I wasn't going to play it the rest of my life. So I had to do something else in order to make sure that my life would continue to function the way that I think that it should.
But you also thought about others. We talked about the fact that the Jackie Robinson papers are here
Yes.
and what he did in terms of business, but also being active. And you started a foundation, and I love the name,
Hank Aaron Chasing the Dream
Chasing
Foundation.
the Dream.
And by the way, we have a young lady here who does more handling that than I do.
Oh, well, there she is.
She's right here.
And so Chasing the Dream, I mean, that name.
But what started that was the fact that when I retired from baseball, I remember Bud Selig, who was then Bud Selig, who's now, he was a commissioner of baseball, but right then he was the owner of the Milwaukee Brewers. And I remember we was playing someplace in Baltimore, and I told a friend of mine, I said, I can't, baseball is something I'm gonna have to give up. I can't, my longest ball is to the watering track. I slide, and I'm thinking I'm at second base, and I'm halfway. I said, I can't do what I used to do. I said, I need to try to think about something else. So I told this friend of mine, I said, I'm gonna retire. He said, well, why don't you go and tell the commissioner? No, it wasn't the commissioner, tell the owner, Bud Selig. So I went and told Bud Selig about it. And I said, Bud, I said, I don't think I'm gonna play. I said, you gave me a 2-year contract and that's gonna be it. I said, I don't think I can play anymore. He said, well, what do you want to do? I said, I want to do something, but I can't think of what it is right now. And he said, well, come back tomorrow. So I went back in his office the next day. I said, 2 things that I don't want. I said, I don't want somebody to come up and say, we're going to have a day for Hank Aaron, and we're going to have a year, go give him a year's supply of Coca-Cola. I said, I don't want that. And I don't want somebody to come up and say, I'm going to give him an automobile. I don't want that.
No.
I said, I want something that I think that 2 years from now, I'm going to love to be. And my wife said, well, why don't you get a foundation? So I said, okay. So I called it wasn't a Chasing a Dream Foundation at that time. It was just Hank Aaron Foundation. Started out little or nothing, doing nothing, making no money, doing nothing. Started out with $200 in it.
$200.
$200.
You were ambitious.
That was, yeah, but we tried to do the very best we could.
Okay.
Tried to do the very best we could. Until one day, I'm getting ahead of myself now. One day, I remember my wife and I was traveling someplace, and she said, your foundation isn't going anyplace. She said, we ought to try to do something with this foundation. I said, well, what do you think we ought to do? Let's try and raise some money. I said, yes, I love that. I said, let's raise some money.
That $250
That
isn't
wasn't going anywhere.
No, because you
So
up
sure
to
enough,
50.
she decided that she was going to get in touch with Coca-Cola, some of the big boys, and she talking about some money. She went to Coca-Cola and offered Coca-Cola for 5 seats or 10 seats for $50,000 and $20,000. And I told her, I said, now don't embarrass me, please. I said, God, I said, but that's a lot of money. She said, don't worry. She said, let me handle it. And so I said, okay. And so fast forward, I remember the night of the dinner. We had Bill Clinton there. Now I know
President
this
Bill
is not
Clinton?
politics. Yeah, President Bill Clinton was there. We raised that night. We raised over $1,200,000
Wow.
that night, and that started me on the foundation.
I
That
think
started
so.
me on raising money for the kids. And today, we have helped over how many?
We have over 50 scholarships at 18 universities and colleges,
Wow.
most of them HBCUs.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So that's
Yay. And those are full scholarships.
Yes.
Full scholarships.
yes.
Wonderful.
Yes. So that's what we're doing now. And so I am so happy and extremely happy because it's all over the world, and it's helping kids chase their dreams as I chased mine many years ago.
And that's what
Yeah,
led it. You knew baseball was going to be that for you.
true.
You knew and you said, this is going to be the way that I'm going to
That's right.
move out and then later give to others.
That's right.
Because some people don't.
Well, that's true. That's
And that's why I think people admire you.
Well,
so
thank
much,
you.
That you've used your fame and you've used what you've done to help others.
Well, I have tried with the help of my wife and with the foundation. We have tried to do what we were called upon to do, to try to help others.
Now, you also did it in business, and I'm looking at Mr. Moorhead, because you were the first African-American BMW dealership ever.
Yeah, we were.
Now,
Yeah.
I think you said, though, this might be back with the $200 theme. You sold 5 cars the first year.
We didn't sell too many BMW.
Okay.
We didn't, at least
This is
my
a little
dealership.
theme here.
At that time, my dealership was so small. We had a small dealership. I think Tom may have been a little larger than mine, but mine was so small.
He was the second
Yeah,
African-American
yeah.
BMW dealer.
But thank God, Mr. Moorhead has since graduated and has gone on and done quite well. Thank God. Thanks, Tom. He's done very well. He enjoys. Has done quite well. But anyhow, it gave me an opportunity to understand what being in business and what life was all about. Really, I've enjoyed myself. It's been something that I think that we have helped other kids to fulfill their dreams. So we feel quite proud of the fact that I have helped others.
And you went into other businesses, the restaurant business,
I'm in the food business.
food business.
Yes.
So you're just rolling.
I don't know.
You're doing pretty good here. Well, that's because it's a continuation of the excellence and striving, and it's back to your parents and those values and what they taught you about being there and being steady,
Well, and
keeping the course.
right, and I have tried. In spite of all the things that have happened to not myself, but have happened in this country, and especially to African Americans, little kids, and that was something that I think that made me and my wife talk about when we had our, not had, when we talked to our grandkid. You know, he's 14, 15 years old, 16 years old, and the most important thing is to make sure that he understands what life is all about. You know, when I was his age, I knew I had my wife, my mother didn't tell me anything but one time. And after that, it was something else that was getting on my behind. So that's what she told me. But you know, today these kids are a little bit different, you know.
And how do you, and you mentioned your one grandson is about 17,
17, yeah.
and that you talk to him about
Yes.
being, you use your experiences that you had.
I use my experience, and what I try to tell him is that no matter what happened, if he's driving a car, and today's kids are a little bit smarter than say I was when I was growing up, you know, really to be honest. And I try to tell him, say, you know, the most important thing is that when someone stop you, want your driver's license, give them your license, put your hand on the steering wheel or hold your hand up, and don't make a move. Just stay right there. That's kind of tough, but it's
tough.
tough. It's kind of tough.
Especially for young people.
For young kids today.
And your
Yeah.
experiences, though,
Yeah.
in Mobile and then traveling and stuff,
Yes.
really reinforced that, though.
Yes. And I understood that. I understood that because growing up in Mobile, you understood that. But today, you know, young people, young kids are not, you know, you have to explain things to them. And and you should. You can't just walk up to one and say something and expect that they want an answer. And they
Tell me about the talk that your parents or your guardian had with you about being pulled over by police officers.
should rightfully have an answer, you know, really.
Now, do you ever have young athletes come to you and ask for advice and things? I'm sure they.
I have tried to stay out of that, really, and the reason for that is because I think that so many young players today think that the agents think that you're trying to figure out a way to get something, your hands in their pocketbook or something. And so I kind of stay away from that. You know, I try to help them as much as I can away from in the clubhouse. On the field, I'll talk to one of them about hitting or something. But I never try to kill one of them off the time.
And that must be, you mentioned that you always thought that records were made to be broken.
That's right.
And that was your approach.
That's true. That's true. And the reason for that is because for 23 years, I hit 750 some odd home runs. And Barry Bonds was slowly sniffing at my heels, and he was, and people were saying that the reason that he was getting so close is because he was doing some things illegal. I didn't know he was doing anything illegal. I'd never known him. I'd never seen him do anything, really, to be honest with you. But that's what they were saying. And they were saying that, are you going to give him the record? I said, I'm not giving him anything. I said, here again, I said, records are made to be broken. And no matter who it is, somebody's going to break somebody's record, you know.
Eventually.
That's right.
And if you look at it like that, you can move through your life.
That's right.
And keep going and feel good and do what you do.
That's true.
And that's what I think that when people talk about separating the record from the person, is very important because you have that distinction. Now, another distinction that I think we will see in the exhibit, people are going to see the baseball exhibit. And I mentioned that your scouting report from Branch Rickey is in there. But you don't know what he said.
No, I got it.
Well, the whole world knows now. It's in the exhibit. Let's just say he said you had potential.
I have an idea. I remember when I was playing in the Negro League. many, many years ago, and I made $200 a month. That's what I was making, and I got $1 a day meal money for eating. And it's a friend of mine named Jenkins, who was a very good friend of mine. He and I was very good friends. And we used to buy a big jar of peanut butter about this so big. And it was real peanut butter.
Peanut,
This
just
wasn't
based on.
this wasn't the kind that had oil on top. This was a real peanut butter.
Okay, we
And
know
half
about
of it
that.
would get right here and it would stick to your throat. And I remember when I left Mobile, Alabama, and my sister carried me to the train station with a suitcase about this big. That was my suitcase. I call it a suitcase. It was a briefcase, about this big, pair of pants and a shirt. That was it. And I went to join the Indianapolis Clowns, the Negro League. And it was almost 3.5 weeks before, and we played in Winston-Salem, South Carolina. It was cold as the dickens. I never forget, I didn't have a jacket, didn't have anything. And they wouldn't give me one because I was only a rookie. And I did the very best that I could. I froze at night, ate peanut butter, and that was it. But yeah, hey, I was 18 years old, and
Yeah.
that didn't bother me. Yeah, that didn't bother me. I was happy as a lark. I wanted to play baseball.
You were chasing a dream.
I was chasing a dream. That's right, and I chased it.
And when you think about that, the peanut butter and the briefcase and what that led to, do you sometimes reflect back and say, wow?
I think
You
about it.
ever think,
I think about all of the things that I made $200 a month. That was and after taxes and all, back then, of course, little taxes wasn't that much. But I used to send my mother all the rest of it. And I used to always have at least $25 or $30 in my pocket. And we never would, we never would travel on a train. We traveled on a bus. And all of us had a certain times, not in the evening, but at night, we would be watching to turn the signal, helping the bus driver turn and drive the bus. But we had you think about things like that, and you say, how did I make it? What made me do? And I always say, God works in mysterious ways. And sometimes he can have his hands on you and tell you what direction to go in, and you don't know why you're going in that direction, but you're going. So you have to say, in spite of all the things that you have tried to do, somebody else stronger than you, most powerful than you, have sent you a direction to make you go in the right direction.
Tell me about some mysterious things that went on in your life.
And I feel like out of all the things that have happened to me in the 23 years that I played baseball and all the rest of the things, that I had someone that was guiding me in the right direction in order to make sure that, Hank Aaron, we want you to go this way rather than going that way. I played baseball for 23 years, and I never ran with a crowd.
really?
Never had anybody.
I didn't read that.
Never had anybody
Okay.
pulling my coattail or anything like that. When I went through the chasing the Babes record for many years, I stayed away from my teammates for a year and a half, and they stayed somewhere else. And I had to have people bring me food into the hotel. And for 2 years, I had to be left out of the ballpark, led in the back, go out of the back way rather than going out.
Now, was that your
Yeah.
choice, or was that
No,
because of those
that was a
threats?
choice because I
that
was
I read
getting,
about.
I got all kinds of threatening letters. I must have had all kinds of letters that was threatening my life. You know, if I did this, you know. So
Because of a record,
because of a record,
and
Yeah.
it was the racial part.
it was segregation, no question.
They kind of put that in the letter too.
Yes.
Yeah. And that was, yeah, well, that was part of it. And that, I could imagine that would almost take something, the joy of doing it and you chasing your dream and playing and doing this, and then to have that, wasn't that kind of bittersweet to have to
No
deal
question
with
about
that
it.
too?
And also, you know, at that time, yeah, I was married, had 2 kids, and they were in school, and they couldn't. I had one daughter that was at Fisk University.
Oh, yeah, it's in Nashville.
Yeah, she was at Nashville, and she, for a year and a half, she couldn't leave the campus because she was getting threatening letters,
Your daughter.
uh, and so she couldn't leave the campus. And then I had to go. I had a little boy. I had 2 sons at Marist, another little private school, but they too had to have people escort them here and there, and it was
That was hard.
it was a tough moment for me.
And people remember it in their ways and they think about it, but they don't think about the human toll.
That's right.
And you were the human.
That's right.
That you
I
weren't
was.
just some, you know, you were pretty phenomenal now. Pretty phenomenal. But you also were human, and the toll that took on you.
Right.
But no bitterness, no, you know, I mean, you just sitting here now.
Well, you as I said before, you think about all of the things that you went through, you're going through, and try to do the right thing, you know. And the most important thing I was trying to do was just bringing joy to people who wanted to see a little baseball. That's all.
Now, what about the new generations? We talked about younger people. There are more African-American youth seeming to go into basketball and football. What about trying to get them involved with baseball? Do you think there's a opportunity?
Problem, and it's been a problem. You know, it's a problem. I've spoken to the commissioner of baseball about it. I've talked to both commissioners about it. And for some reason, we don't have African Americans playing Major League Baseball anymore, you know, for some reason. Most of your African American players are coming from the Dominican Republic and some of the other places, from some of the other islands, you know. And for some reason, I was looking at the game the other night, when I think it was the Red Sox. And
They're Red Sox. I know.
the Red Sox and Houston Astros. Yeah.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
Mr. Henry
Yeah.
Aaron watching games? Would you have loved to sit next to him while he's watching a game? Oh,
But I didn't see one African. I saw one African American
isn't
player.
that something?
Yeah, and some clubs don't have any.
And what about in the front office too? Because that really
Oh,
is now.
no,
There is
no, we
Mr.
don't have
Ozzie
it.
News. Well, he's football.
And we used to, and I remember when we played baseball, you know, myself and Willie and some of the other players, we used to have, that used to be, you have 5 players. You have players hitting 300, some players hitting 25 or 30 home runs, and all of them would be African American players, you know.
But it wouldn't be reflected in
Yeah.
the management and things like that later.
No, for some reason, I don't understand it. We've never broken that pillar yet, you know, management.
Well, that's one to break.
That's
a record
right.
to break.
That's true.
That's a record to break.
Yeah.
Well, I must tell you that and I put down, and I told you I was a little nervous, so I had a lot of my questions right here, and I got a few, especially chasing the dream. and helping young people see the possibilities.
Mhm.
Now, they don't have to be involved in athletics, right?
No,
This is
no,
straight
no.
scholarship. It doesn't matter what they're majoring in.
They can be anything. We have kids. We have one kid playing golf. Is that right? And we have one playing the cello. And we have one playing. We have kids at Stanford, and we have them all over Michigan.
Michigan?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we will get some sports rivalries going here. I can tell.
So we have them all over. We've done uh, Chasing the Dream Foundation has been something that I think I am very proud of. And it is not only we have white kids too now. Yeah.
Oh, so
it's not only
kids.
just like we have white. Yeah, we have schools that we have white kids that's going to school under the same thing. So, Bud Selig have one at University of Wisconsin, right? Madison too. Yes. So we have them all over. So I'm very proud.
You
Not only
should be.
yeah.
Be honest in the comments. Did you think the foundation was just for people of color or black kids?
These kids are doing wonderful. They're doing marvelous, and each one every year we bring them all to Atlanta. Bring them all to Atlanta for one game, and all of them usually show up, and they have a wonderful time.
So this is the Atlanta Braves. So
Yes,
you
they
bring them
come to the
there
game. Yes,
and they're on the big screen.
the
and
big
people
screen.
seeing
Yes,
them and
yes.
everything like that.
And they have a lot of fun.
Now, you mentioned watching the game. So do you watch games a lot?
I do,
Still?
and I watch it in my bedroom at home.
Do you,
I don't use it.
okay, I'm not gonna ask you if you have any teams that you like or anything like that, because I know there's some people that would love to hear you talk about what teams you think are doing well. Remember, I'm from Baltimore, so don't talk about that right now. But the Cubs made it finally.
Yes.
It's Ernie
yes,
Banks.
yes,
He used to
yes,
every year
yes.
come out. So good.
Yeah, they finally made it. They finally made it. The Cubs did, but and the Commissioner Bud Selig, have been instrumental in this panel. He's put together where you don't have the same team every year. That was a time when you had the Yankees every year, Brooklyn Dodgers. That doesn't happen anymore. I mean, it has changed quite a bit now.
And you've known him for how many years?
Well, Bud and I have been knowing each other for at least 40, 50 years. Yeah.
And you're
And
close.
he instrumental in my little thing that I give to each player every year. So he and I've been friends for a long time. He's done a great job when he was commissioner of baseball, and I would have to say he's done a great job with baseball, period.
So before we end, I'm gonna have to ask you, is there just one team that you're just kind of looking out at? And the team that you're kind of watching, you think,
Go win?
oh no,
What about?
no betting. No, a team that's doing different things or you enjoy watching.
I don't know. I think I would have to say, without trying to put I would say Milwaukee. Milwaukee.
I see people going, okay,
Milwaukee is done just about as well as can be, really. And that's not just because I played with Milwaukee for a long time, but it's because I think the management has seen fit to really put the ball club where it's supposed to be.
Well, Mr. Aaron, even though you have done so much after those 23 years. I think a lot of us are still pleased that you are still interested in the game and looking, but also are helping so many other people chase their dreams.
Well, thank you very much.
We appreciate you being here with us.
It is so wonderful. But yeah, this is the first time I've been in this building. The very first time. I mean, this is something that everybody should come and see. I
And,
mean, it is, you are doing just,
Well, I work with some great people,
Yes,
and I'm
yes.
telling you, we brought out the good silver, right?
Yeah.
For Mr. Aaron. I mean, we had, you name it, we had it. And it was out there, and the curators and librarians were so excited. And in fact, they are going to make sure that you see some of the Jackie Robinson letters. And the archivist went back, Adrian Cannon went back and looked into the archives and said, you do that, because you were that aware that we had the Jackie Robinson. As I mentioned, you will see your scouting report in the baseball exhibit.
is it good?
It was good. It was good. Like I said, he said you had potential. And he talked about you. And then we had something that we picked out from our archives. It's a map, a very rare map of Mobile, Alabama.
Oh.
And
Oh.
it is rare and old, and it's the plan
thank you.
of Mobile,
Oh, my
Alabama, and
goodness.
we have it for you,
Thank
and we'll
you.
make sure you get it. But we wanted
Thank
you to
you.
take a memento from the Library of Congress home
Billy?
with you.
Isn't that
We
wonderful?
did that. We wanted you to have that.
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. So I know that people would like
Thank
to
you.
speak with you and just be with you for a few minutes
Sure.
before we go into dinner. And please, everyone, please thank Mr. and Mrs. Aaron for being here today.
Thank you.
Hank Aaron shared a lot of wisdom, and I hope we learned something from it. If you caught the gemstones I left in this video, I hope they gave you something to think about. Let me know what stood out to you. To help the channel, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.